to you. Are you ready? Here we go. First thing is just what is a linear inequality? So it's very similar to a linear equation. What is an equation different than an inequality? Unequal. Inequality, not equal to. Now, sometimes inequalities can be equal to. Remember, there's less than or equal to, greater than or equal to, but those are inequalities, okay? An equation is an equal sign. They are equal to each other. So it's similar to a linear inequality. Let's try that again. Similar to a linear equation, but uses an inequality symbol. Okay, so that is less than, greater than, less than or equal to, greater than or equal to. So you're going to be working with those 4 symbols in this section when we're talking about linear inequalities. So in equations, linear equations, if something was a solution, it was because x equals 4, right? In an inequality, something can be a solution. There's just a lot more options for your solution, because if it's x equals 4, how many solutions are there? One solution, right? 4 is the solution. But if it's x is greater than 4, give me a solution to that. X has to be greater than 4. Give me a number that makes that true. 7. Give me another one. 12. Give me another one. 1 million, right? Any number greater than 4. So that's why we end up shading a lot, because it's not just this line is the solution, it's this line and everything above it, or it's this line and everything below it, okay? So that's how our solutions are going to work. It is all ordered pairs. Remember, our solutions were always like an X and a Y. So ordered pairs again, this type of setup. All ordered pairs that make the inequality true. Okay, the solution to a linear inequality is all of the X and Y combos, all of the relations, the ordered pairs that make it a true statement. Okay, so look just below that. It says determine which ordered pairs are solutions to the linear inequality below. So basically what they're asking is 2, 5 a solution to that inequality? Does anyone have an idea of how we might be able to tell if it is? What does the 2 represent right now? X. What does the 5 represent? Y. Does anyone know whose phone that is? If it's yours, just go turn it off. So this is X, and this is Y. So that's what you're going to do. You're going to plug in the X and the Y. So you're going to say 2 times 2, right? This 2 gets dropped in here, minus 3 times what? 5 is less than 15. Now it's PEMDAS. Now you're just going to simplify both sides of your inequality and determine, is it true? So what I do is go 2 times 2 is 4, 3 times 5 is 15. So 4 minus 15 is less than 15. That simplifies. 4 minus 15 is what?
11.
Negative 11 is less than 15. Is that a true statement? Negative 11 is less than 15. Yeah, negative 11 is less than 15. So if this is true, it says determine whether they are solutions. This is a yes, this is a solution to this inequality. Okay, let's do another one together. If I check negative 1, negative 7, I would go 2 times negative 1 minus 3 times negative 7 is less than 15. Okay. Now, you gotta be a little bit careful with negatives in this one. There's a lot of negatives happening. Make sure you keep them in the right places. So we're gonna simplify by multiplication, -2. And we're gonna multiply this. What does that become? Positive 21. 7 times 3, so 21. So we're gonna go plus 21 is less than 15. What's -2 plus 21? 19. Okay. Is 19 less than 15? No. So if it's not true, then it's not a solution. So we would say no, -1,7 is not a solution. Okay. Do you feel like you have a good grasp on that, or do you want to try one on your own? Try one? Okay. Go ahead and try 3, -4. And if you want to try 0, 0, you can try that too. Plug in 3, -4, and tell me if that is going to be a solution. Oh, did you leave your calculator here yesterday? I think it was your desk that it was on. Do you have a sticker on yours? No, Caleb.
Oh, yeah, probably.
Is it yours?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Who said that? Yeah, in the drawer with the the tape. Who thinks yes, this is a solution? Who thinks no, this is not a solution? Are we just not done? Or we just don't know? What was your final math sentence? What is less than what? -6? 6. Okay, minus a negative. 2 negatives here becomes what? Positive. So 6 plus 12 is less than 15. So 18 is less than 15. Is that a yes or a no? That's false. That is a no. Okay. If you did this one, it's a yes. I don't know if you plugged it in or not, but that one comes out to a yes. Okay. So graphing. This is the fun part. I love this so much. Yes.
Hey, real quick, you just put yes randomly for the 0, 0. So does that mean if there's an equation that just has 0 and a 0, does that mean?
No, I just meant if someone already plugged this one in, it did work out. I just didn't plug it in. So you still have to plug in the 0, 0, right? I would still have to say 2 times 0 minus 3 times 0 is less than 15. That's 0 minus 0 is less than 15, and 0 is less than 15, so that's why it's a yes. Yeah, you still got to plug it in even though it's zeros. Okay, graphing linear inequalities. Here's what we do. There's some super important steps in here that you haven't touched for a little while, okay? But you've done them before, probably last year. I don't know, we've not done it this year. But you got to make sure you do it on this stuff. So the first thing we're going to do when we're graphing linear inequalities is we're going to put it into slope, intercept form. Remind me what that looks like. What's slope intercept form? Yeah, so we want it to be y equals mx plus b. The difference is this is going to be an inequality. Okay, so instead of an equal sign, it's going to be a less than, a greater than, a less than or equal to, or a greater than or equal to. But it's going to have the same basic flow as slope-intercept. Okay? Okay, with that, this is the thing that I feel like people will generally forget to do. So if you checked out for a minute, here's where I need you to check back in. Are you ready? Here's what it says. Be sure to flip the inequality symbol if you multiply or divide by a negative number. Do you remember doing that? When there were inequalities involved, you had to flip if you multiply or divide by a negative. You don't need to write this down right now, but I'm just going to show you. If you want to write it, go for it. If I have this, negative 2x is less than 10. Okay, how do you solve that? Act like there's an equal sign in between. How do you solve that? Divide. Okay, if you divide both sides by a negative, then you have to flip your symbol. So what was less than is now greater than. Okay, you remember doing that last year? Let me show you one where it doesn't happen that way. If I have 2x is less than negative 10, am I dividing by a negative now? No, I have a negative, but I'm not dividing by the negative. So this one doesn't flip. Okay? So just be really careful. If you're dividing both sides by a negative, you flip it. If you're not, don't flip it. Okay? Okay, so that's step number 1. Step number 2 is you're going to graph the line. And tell me if you remember doing this. You use a solid line versus a dotted line. Does anyone remember when you make it solid versus when you make it dotted? I bet you did this last year too.
You do the solid when it's like the thing with the line under it.
With the bar, the equal to bar. Yeah, so if it's less than or equal to or greater than or equal to, that's going to be a solid line when you graph it, versus a dotted line will be less than or greater than. Okay, so that's step 2 is when you graph it, figure out, is this a solid line or am I going to make it a dotted line? Okay? And then the best part, you shade. I love shading. If you are a color person and you're taking paper notes, if you ever want to borrow any of my colored pencils or markers, you're welcome to do that. I'm going to change colors on here a lot. So you shade above the line whenever it's a greater than setup. So if it's greater than or equal to, you're going to shade above the line. You want it greater, you want it higher, okay? You're going to shade below the line whenever it is less than or equal to. So far, so good? Okay, I'm done writing words at you. Let's try it. This is the fun part. So step 1 says to do what? Slope intercept form. Okay, so look at this. Is it in slope intercept form? No, this is in standard form. How do we get it into slope intercept? You did this on your test. You're going to take away the 2x first. So take away 2x from both sides. This is gone, and now you have a negative 3y. You keep your symbol the same for now. And then it's a negative 2x plus 15. Can I add the negative 2 and the 15? No, one has an x, one doesn't, so don't combine them. A few of you were doing that on your test where you were adding those two numbers together. Make sure if one has an x and the other one doesn't, that you're not combining the numbers then. Okay, you're here. Is this slope intercept form? Not yet. You have to isolate. You got to get the y by itself. How do I get y by itself? Divide everything, right? Divide everything by negative 3. Did anything jump out at you there? Negative. What do we have to do? You have to flip it, okay? So because we divided by a negative, it's y is, how do you say this one? Greater than. Y is greater than. So flip your symbol around. What's a negative 2 over negative 3? Is it positive or negative? It's positive, but you can't combine them, right? You're just going to leave it as the fraction. You're going to leave it as your slope. So it's going to be 2 over 3 times x, and then 15 over negative 3 is a negative 5. Is this slope intercept? Yes. Okay, so now you're ready to graph it. Now you're going to graph this just like we did the last ones, last chapter, okay? What do we plot first? The negative 5. So this is going to be the first thing you plot. That's your y-intercept. And some of you struggled with this on the test. Your y-intercept is where did you hit the y-axis? So if we're hitting at negative 5 on that y-axis, where do you move? Up, down, left, or right? You're going to go down 5, okay? So from 0, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is that point. Okay, so now you're done with that part. What do you do next? Up 2 over 3. Now you do the slope. Okay, this is your second step, and that's your slope. So you're going to go up 2 and then to the right 3. Up 2, right 3, put a point there. Okay, now here's where I think oftentimes people get a little hasty because you're so used to graphing lines. So people are like, oh, draw the line in. But what do I have to check right now? If it's solid or dotted, this one should be dotted. Do you know why? This symbol, right, if you look up here, if it's less than without the bar or greater than without the bar, it's a dotted line. So we want this to be a dotted line because there's no equal to bar. Okay, so make a dotted line right there. And now look what it says. It says y is greater than 2/3 x minus 5. So if it's going to be greater than this line, I guess it's this line for you guys, do I go above it or below it? Above it, greater than, okay? So you may use a highlighter. If you like to do it like this, you can just highlight it. Often what I do, and it's not a big deal in this lesson, but in the next lesson, it becomes a little bit bigger of a deal. Often what I'll do is I'll just, when I highlight, I'll just do perpendicular lines through it because you'll see in the next lesson, whatever way the line's going, we're looking for overlap sometimes. We're not in this one. So you may shade it, you may draw lines, whatever, as long as I can see your answer was above. Okay, so shade it or draw the lines, I don't care. Questions on that? Okay, maybe you want to write a little note to yourself just so when you're looking back at this symbol right here told us it needs to be dotted and it needs to be above the line. Okay? What? What? So it's B?
No, I said it's pretty easy.
Oh, good. I hope it is, yeah. Okay, let's do one more together and then I want you to try one on your own. Let's do number 2 on that next page. Okay. Can you tell me your first move? You're going to plot the y-intercept because this is already in slope-intercept form. Isn't that lovely when it's already in the form you want? So your first step is going to be to plot that y-intercept. So where do we move for a -1? Down 1. Don't go left and right here. Okay. You're up and down because this is your y-axis. So your y-intercept goes down 1. What's your next move? Yeah, so a slope of -2 is -2 over 1. So we're going to go down 2, 1, 2, to the right 1. Do it again. Down 2 to the right 1. Down 2 to the right 1. You don't need 4 points. You really only need 2. But I like how it looks when you give yourself a few more. It's just a nicer line. Can you tell me, based on this symbol, if this is solid or dotted? This is going to be solid because it has the equal to bar. And then let's see. Maya, can you tell me, is this going to be above or below? Below. Y is less than or equal to, so you want to go below. So it's solid and it's below. So we're going to draw a solid line. When you draw your lines, you want to go all the way through your graph. So make sure it goes all the way to the top up here and all the way to the bottom down here because you're going to shade and we want to include everything that it would be. So below the line right now really feels a little more like which direction, left or right? To the left of the line. So this would be your shading. And again, if you want to use a highlighter, you can use a highlighter. If you want to do the lines, you can do the lines. Questions on that? Okay, I'm going to jump down to the bottom and then we're going to jump back up again. But I want to show you this bottom couple first before we jump up. Look at 7 and 8. Okay, these look a little different, but you've seen this before. Do you remember what the equation looked like when it was y equals -4?
Oh, divide. No.
Not divide.
you put a point, it's either like this way.
Right, it's either a vertical or a horizontal line. Where is y always negative 4? Is that this way or this way?
This one.
This one.
Right?
This way. It's a horizontal line. So think about it. 0, negative 4, 1, negative 4, 2, negative 4, 3, negative 4. Your y value is always negative 4, okay? So it's going to be a horizontal line. Is it going to be solid or dotted? This is solid. Okay, so you can draw a solid line here. Is it going to be graphed above or below? How do you say this symbol? Y is less than or equal to. So that needs to go below. So we're going to go like this. Okay, and we're done. So it's solid and it's below. So that's y is less than or equal to negative 4. Try x is greater than 7. See if you can get that one. Can someone say this symbol for me? X is greater than, okay? X is greater than 7. So are you making it solid or dotted? This is dotted because it does not have the equal to bar. And are you going to shade above or below? X is greater than 7. Greater than, right? We want to get bigger. Greater than 7, so go above. Okay, and now this one is X. So which way did you make your line? It's this one. It's the vertical. So X is vertical, Y is horizontal. It's where your X values are always 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So a dotted line at 7. Okay, now above here is not truly above, but the numbers that are greater than would go where? To the right. Okay, so this one technically goes to the right because there isn't an above, but the numbers getting bigger would go to the right. Okay, any questions on that? Okay, here's what I want you to do then. I want you to try number 3 on your own. Okay, try this one. You're welcome to chat with the people around you and see how they're doing, but give that a go. Tell me your first move. Before you can move somewhere like that. What did you do? It is down 6 because you, not divide yet. So you're going to move that 5 over, right? Minus 5x. So a negative 2y is greater than negative 5x plus 12. What's your next move? Brooklyn, what do you do next? What if this was an equal sign? Negative 2y equals negative 5x plus 12. What would you do next? How do you get y by itself? Not subtract, divide. These are multiplied right now. So you do the opposite. So we're going to divide by what? Negative 2. What happens when you divide by a negative? What do you have to do when you divide by a negative? You got to flip it, right? So it's greater than right now. We're going to go less than. A negative over a negative is a positive. So 5 halves x. And then 12 over negative 2 is a negative 6. So you should get here. Okay? If you can get there, you've won half the battle already. Where do you move for that, Jameson?
No.
Oh.
5 over 2, don't you? You said you flipped it. You flipped that on the last one.
You flip the symbol. You change the sign. So negative over negative is positive. You don't flip the numbers. You flip this guy, the inequality. Yeah. So where do we move for 5 halves x minus 6?
Down 6.
Down 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so that's your first move. This is your second move. What do you do for 5 halves?
Up 5 over
Up 5 to the right 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2. Less than is solid or dotted?
Dotted.
Dotted, because it doesn't have the equal to. And do we go above or below? Y is less than. Above or below? Below. Okay, so you want a dotted line and make it the whole length of your graph. Oh, mine is not very straight. You're welcome to use a straight edge if you're doing it on paper. So there's your line, and we shade below. So it looks like that.